Hi, welcome to Keep On Pushing TV. Yes, I am your host, Devon Harris. And yes, what we do here is that we share ideas and insights that are going to challenge you and inspire you to keep on pushing. And in the process, you know what's going to happen? You're going to live your absolute best life. So if that's something you're interested in, even remotely, you know you're in the right place. You've hit the jackpot. So again, welcome to Keep On Pushing TV. My guest today is a lifelong entrepreneur. Her first company involved melting chocolate chips and selling them as, turning them into suckers and selling them when she was only 10 years old. Today, though, she is a founder and CEO of Social Tenacity. The company had revenue of $1.3 million in 2019, and they work with network marketers who are selling health, wellness, beauty, and home products. She helps them to build more loyal followings. In addition to her title as CEO, though, she has a title of teacher because she homeschools her 4 kids, ages 5 to 13, along with her husband, Ben. So I'm excited, I'm thrilled to be able to welcome to the show Brooke Elder. Brooke, welcome to Keep On Pushing.
Thank you so much. That is such a good introduction. Like hearing everything all lined up like that, it's like, wow, this person must be impressive.
Well, you know what? That's what I thought as well when I heard about this person. I thought I have to get her on the show because this is the kind of person that our listeners and viewers love to hear from, need to hear from. So I'm kind of thinking, you know, at 10 years old, I have a 10-year-old right now, they like to play. She still likes to play with her dolls. But you decided that you're going to be an entrepreneur. What do you think accounted for that entrepreneurial bug that you had, so early on in life?
Well, it started actually with a tea set. There was this little tea set that I really wanted, and my mom told me that if I wanted it, I had to raise money and pay for it myself. And I still remember it was 1997, and then I had to pay $3 shipping because it was in a catalog that I found. And I really wanted it. So I thought, well, what are some ways that I could make some money? And so we went to the hobby store and we found like these little sucker molds. And I thought, I could sell suckers at recess. So I put them in a lunchbox, and at recess, I would sell them for like 10 cents for the little ones and quarters for the bigger ones. And I was making money. And within about a month, I was able to make enough money to buy my tea set I wanted.
Wow. So your mom got the kind of the creative juices flowing, huh?
Yes, for sure.
So with that experience, did you then wanted to grow up to be an entrepreneur? What were your childhood dreams?
To be a teacher. That's really what I wanted. And so I went to college to be a teacher and everything. And like being an entrepreneur wasn't like I'd never identified myself as an entrepreneur, even though I was starting all these businesses and things like that. So, because after I had my second baby, I decided to stay home and I wanted to find ways to make extra income. And so I just kept starting all of these different businesses. And that's what entrepreneurs do. But I didn't see myself as that. I'm like, no, I'm just being resourceful. That's all.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, but it's great though because you find yourself with, I'm going to say, a challenge, and you may not necessarily have all the resources, but you were resourceful. And
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those things that I talk to people about, that, you know, what's way more important than the resources, that the money, the support, is your resourcefulness, your ability to kind of dig within you to come up with solutions.
Right, right. Because it's a hard road to go down.
Yeah, but you know, even when it's when you're not pursuing, say, an entrepreneurial pursuit, um, just being able to be resourceful to get over the challenges that are standing between you and your goals, whichever it
Mm-hmm.
is, right, is a handy skill to have, I would say.
Yes, for sure. So like, for example, There was a time when we weren't making that much money, and I was able to feed my family of 6 on $200 a month because I was the coupon queen. So you
Ah.
got to be resourceful in times like that, you know.
All right, that's something to take note of. Absolutely. So now you have graduated from being the coupon queen. You are, running a company, a successful company, and I have to imagine that there is a lot of demand on your time. There's not just maintaining, but growing a company. But yet you chose, you and your husband, to homeschool your kids. Why is homeschooling so important to you?
Well, it really all started. It was about a year and a half ago. All of my kids got bronchitis at the same time. So they were home for about a week. And I went to school to pick up all of their work that they had missed. And I was looking at all the things that they were teaching. And I'm like, this is just such garbage. Like, my kids should not be learning these things. They need to be learning real life skills.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just had this little bug in me that it was like, Kate, like, this is what you need to do. I never saw myself homeschooling, even though I have a teaching background.
Right.
And even when my kids were really little, I was like, there's no way I could homeschool because I love my time. I love my freedom when they're at school and all of that. But there was just something about that moment. There was something that just said, no, this is what your kids really need.
Mm-hmm. Right. There's nothing like a concerned parent, who, see an issue and decide to address it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, Social Tenacity, it's, as I just mentioned, $1.3 million last year. It's been successful. You mentioned that you started a number of companies. And so, it seems as if you never necessarily had a nice, rosy, smooth path to creating this company. Tell us about some of those early companies and what happened.
So the biggest one, I mean, a lot of them were just like little things that I did as a mom. I did some graphic design. I had a web design business I did for a little while, but nothing was like on a big scale. It was just me doing stuff that I loved for ways to make some extra money. And my husband had a dream to open a car dealership. And so he quit his job that he absolutely hated. And we put all of our money in, like 401ks, maxed out credit cards, like any sort of money we could get. We took it to start buying cars so we could have this car dealership. And it took about 18 months, but we lost all of that money. So there was 1 month where we were $800 profitable. Every other month we lost money. So that's when I say, like, I know how to like live off of coupons and all of that, because we were on government assistance and everything, just trying to get us like be okay to feed our family.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it was one night sitting at the kitchen table with my husband looking over everything, and he's like, I think we're gonna have to file bankruptcy, which meant we were gonna have to lose our house and everything. And I was envisioning like my little family living under an overpass somewhere, and I'm like, okay, this cannot happen. And so I had this idea to start Social Tenacity for about a year and a half. And it was one of those things that really pushed me out of my comfort zone. And so I always just kept putting it off. And it was at that moment that I was like, hey, I can't put this off anymore. Like, it was a do or die situation. And so like, I got to have one last ditch effort to make this work.
Right. So let me back up a little bit, because you spoke about having a web design company. You mentioned that you are a teacher by training. So first of all, how did that come about? Because that seems like something out of left field.
Right. Well, it was my first website I ever designed when I fell in love with web design was actually my website for when I was a teacher, for my students and parents to be able to go to and get homework and things like that. And I loved it. And I'm someone like, I like things very particular. And this was a very basic way to set up a website. So I was like trying to figure out ways that I could like hack the system and I could make things a lot cooler and stuff like that. And I just fell in love with it. So one of the businesses I started when I stopped teaching was a preschool out of my home. And so that way I could still be teaching, and I needed a website. So that was the first website I ever built, like really from scratch. And I just really liked the creativity of it. And so I started just saying, I could do this for other people. I ended up not doing the preschool because that was I found out I was pregnant with my second son and he was due in September. And I'm
Mm.
like, there's no way that I could start school and have a brand new baby at the same time. Like, that's just not going to
Right.
work, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what kind of got me into that.
And I assume that was profitable. That was a successful business, and you
Yes.
moved away from that because.
I just didn't love doing it anymore.
Mhm.
I mean, I had one person that worked for me, and it got to a point really where I could do the marketing. I could get people to come and want to pay me, and then they actually did all the work. But I just felt like there was more out there for me. And so I actually ended up in 2018 selling that company.
Mhm.
And that was a whole nother experience trying to sell a company. I learned a lot.
Right. Right. So you invested all your life savings, your car dealership. You made a whopping $800 your successful month, but it failed in 18 months. But you kept trying. What Talk to me about failure first of all. How do you deal with failure?
Well, because I failed a lot, you have to change the way you look at it, you know?
Hmm.
And so I look at failure now as it's just data, because really it's us that puts our own feelings onto the situation,
Hmm.
you know? And so like I look back, and if people have asked me if I had to do life over again, would I do the car dealership again? And I say absolutely, because there's so many things that you can learn. Really, I think we learn more from failure than we do from success anyway.
Yeah. 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 And that's not something that most people want to hear, because
No.
failure means that you didn't get what you want. But you're absolutely right. There's just so much more that we have if we allow ourselves to.
Mm-hmm.
Because you said something key, that failure is data, but when we add the emotions to it, it changes the perception,
Mm-hmm.
and leave us unlikely to learn all the things that we could learn from the failure. Um, so it seems as if you're up against a wall, or you're almost under an overpass, as you just said, right? And you decide to take action on social tenacity, an idea you've had for a year and a half, you said.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what was it then? What were the fears? Because you obviously had failed before, so it wasn't, and you have started business before. So I can't imagine that you were fearful of starting a business. I'm trying to figure out what was it that was keeping you from starting social tenacity in the first place.
It was the fear of, like, I'm actually a pretty introverted person. So it was people knowing who I was. That was
Hmm.
very scary for me. And I think anyone, especially women, like when you start something, that we're scared to put ourselves out there because we don't want people to see like what we think about ourselves, you know? And so like, I was like, am I good enough? Like you have all of those kind of things go through your head of like, what if I put my stuff out there and someone sees it and they're like, oh no, she's crap. You know, I didn't want that to happen. And
Hmm.
so it was really, really scary for me to do that. But then when I got into that situation, I was like, you know what, I can't even think about that, because living under an overpass is way more scary, you
Right.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's more painful.
Yes.
So how do you advise, others, Brooke? Because you had, I want to describe it as an extreme situation that got you to move on your goal. But so many of us um, have goals and dreams, and we worry that we may not be good enough. We worry that we may fail, or that other people may laugh at us. How do we get over those hurdles? Because oftentimes those are the things that are standing between us and the tremendous success that awaits us.
Right. Right. And I mean, I still think everybody to an extent worries about that a little bit, you
Hmm.
know? And so it's, instead of focusing on that, it's focusing on what service do you have to offer. And then even now, when there's things that I'm too scared to do, like I think about all of the people that if I don't do this, that will not be impacted by me. And so like, I really like envision this woman like sitting on the couch and like not knowing what to do and not knowing how to grow her business and just wishing that someone would say this to her.
Right.
And I'm not there to say that. And that image, that's the thing that now propels me. So all the rest of the stuff, like I'm more scared of that girl sitting there not getting the help than I am about what other people think about me.
Got you. So basically you have taken on a role that is really bigger than yourself, right? It's outside of yourself, and you're thinking about how the positive impact you're going to make on the world, on someone, other than you, and that drives you past your fears.
Yep, exactly.
So, here we are as we sit, the world is grappling with COVID-19, this global pandemic that's threatening, a global economic meltdown as well. So people are dealing with this kind of crisis. But, in the normal everyday life, people are dealing with, health crisis and relationship crisis. You definitely, dealt with, a financial crisis prior to this. How do we deal with our crises when we find them, Brooke? What advice can you share with us based on your experiences?
Well, whether it be COVID-19 or like you said, anything else that happens to us, that I believe every situation that we have is either going to make or break us. So we can look at that situation and we can say, okay, what are the good things that are going to come of this? So like when we first were in lockdown, it was like, it took a toll on me and it was really hard. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And I was more afraid for like the people that I serve than I was for me. Cause I'm like, I know me, I am resourceful, like I'll be fine. But I was worried about them. And then I started thinking about all of the lessons and the things that we can learn and trying to find the good in everything. I mean, there's so much good that's come out of this. Like families are able to spend more time together and people are using technology like Zoom way more, and like once a week, my family and I all get on a Zoom call and we just check in on each other and see how things are going. And we never did that before, so there's still ways to create that connection. And so just looking for the good. There's going to be a lot of bad, but in any situation, there's always going to be a lot of bad. But if you can always look for the good and see what you can learn from the good, you'll always up level from the situation.
And this is true, I would argue, for whatever crisis that we may face, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because people, I find, are so apt to focus on all the things that aren't going right in their lives. And so we become so wrapped up in it that we often forget all the other wonderful things that are taking place. So you're sitting at the kitchen table with your husband and you're going over your finances, and he's thinking that, we may have to file for bankruptcy, and you're thinking, well, that would mean living on an overpass that I don't want to. So you, I would say, did something that was quite counterintuitive. You decided to go into more debt.
Yes.
by taking out a credit card and paying for a $10,000 coaching course. So outside of the mindset, outside of the fear of being homeless, this describe the mindset to me that said, what, no matter what, this has to be. This is my last chance. I have to succeed.
Well, when you're in that place of like living on the streets, I mean, and in all honesty, we probably could have moved in with family and all of that, but like, it's still like, if I painted that picture in my head, because I knew if I did that, it would help me move, and I've always been a very determined person. Anytime that like anyone would tell me that I couldn't do something, my response was always like, well, watch me, like, right. I'm going to do it, And so I kind of just went into that mindset of like, this has to work. And what really helped was when I was on the call talking to the guy about like everything that I was going to do and my idea for this new business I wanted to start. He believed in me more than I believed in myself. And that was the greatest gift that he could ever give to me. And because of his belief, that made me believe that I could do it. And that gave me the belief that I could push through.
Right, right. And, two important points you made. Last is the last point. The last thing you just said was that you're speaking to a guy who believed in you more than you believed in yourself. And I find that every now and again, all of us, because I've had those situations as well, where I'm speaking to someone who actually believed in me, or just had, so much more passion than I did, and I was able to feed off that. So all of us absolutely need that. The other point, which was the first one you made, you use the term envision in your head, and I wanted to kind of rest on that for a little bit, because the pictures that we have in our head, the thoughts that we create, and the pictures that we have in our head, eventually come to life, and it depends on how we choose to use them. You chose to use this this image of you living under a bridge, being homeless, as something that drove you to succeed. And I want to encourage people who are going through challenges to really think about the pictures that you create in your head, because a lot of people will be in a similar situation and use that picture, and which causes them to go live under a bridge.
Right. Right.
So thank you for that. That's a really important lesson. Thank you for that. So in your company, Brooke, you focus on women and you focus on network marketing. Tell us about why that choice.
Well, one of the entrepreneur ventures I went on while I was trying to figure out like what my true calling was, is I joined a network marketing company. I actually joined one, and after 3 months quit, and I'm like, I'm never doing that again. And then it was about 1.5 years later that I had a friend talk me into it, and I just fell in love with all the self-development. And like, that was the thing that really pushed me to be able to talk to other people. Cause I was so scared to talk to people. I wouldn't even pick up the phone to order pizza because I was too scared to talk to the person on the other side. So it was through network marketing that I had to push myself to be like, okay, I can pick up the phone. I can talk to somebody, or I can talk to somebody that's walking past and be like, hey, I really like your jacket today. And whenever I would compliment people, it was giving me the confidence to talk to people. So that's the exercise I used to help me, so just finding different ways to push me. And I had to build my business online because my husband at the time was a nurse and he was working nights. And I had little kids at home. So I couldn't build the traditional way of going out and doing home parties and leaving business cards everywhere and like doing everything that like everyone does to build their network marketing business. So because of my web design business, and I had helped a lot of brick and mortars use social media to build their business and things like that, I'm like, I'm going to try this online thing with network marketing. And through a lot of trial and error, I found a system that worked really well. And I started training my team on how to do that. And it was a lot of work to put together this whole training center. And so I opened it up to anyone in my company. And within 3 months, I had 10,000 people going through my training. And I was like, okay, there's something to this. So that was really the thing that first sparked, like, I could actually start a business and make money doing what I'm already doing.
Right. So talk to me a little bit about opportunity, Brooke, because as as we're going through this conversation, I'm kind of hearing the word opportunity pop up over and over again. You are on the verge of bankruptcy, and a lot of times people allow themselves being in a situation like that to drive them over the edge. I see it as you saying, hey, this is an opportunity for me to go to the next level. You join a network marketing company, and you use that experience as an opportunity to grow. I'm hearing occasion, to use a different word, but I'm also hearing work in there. So talk to us about this thing called opportunity and how we can create it or take advantage of it.
Well, I think every situation that we have, it's really designed by God, the universe, whatever, to be able to help us become the best version of ourselves. And so that also helps with like thinking through failure and everything, that everything is just an opportunity for us to become better. So what is it in this situation that I'm supposed to learn? Because maybe I'm starting to go down a path that's not really the path I'm supposed to go down. So your life is going to course correct to really put you down the road to become that best version of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're always looking for it, it just makes it so you get there faster. And I am someone who am a little impatient. So I'm always like, okay, what can we do? I want to move faster.
Yeah. So we should spend, as we're going through our lives, we should spend time looking for the opportunity, looking for ways to grow, looking for ways to improve. All right, good. But that means work, though. I mean, is an opportunity supposed to be something that just comes our way that we take advantage of?
Every once in a while it may happen that way, but most of the time it doesn't, And it's funny because if you came to someone and you said, life is always going to be easy and things are just going to fall into your lap, they're going to be like, no, it doesn't. It does not happen that way. But then when they have the failure and things happen to them, they're like, why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
Like we don't connect that dots. Like we know that life is going to be hard because becoming the best version of yourself, like it's a growing experience. It's supposed to be hard, but we learn so many lessons that then you can take those lessons and pass them on to other people, just like this podcast is a great example of how we can take other people's experiences and see what they did and use those so we don't have to go through those and we can actually grow from someone else's experience.
Indeed. They say success always leaves clues. And I wanted to ask that question about opportunity because a lot of people think that, opportunity is something that you just enjoy. It falls into your lap. I think it was Thomas Alva Edison says, no, opportunity always turn up in work clothes. And you're a perfect example of that, being afraid to be on the phone ordering pizza, but then putting in the work to become more confident and to develop personally so you can do what you're doing today. So you are focusing on network marketing, you're focusing on women. And all of us, again, are operating in this COVID-19 environment. How are you pivoting your business and how are you advising the other women you're working with to do the same?
Well, in any sort of marketing, when you're running any kind of business, you want to make sure that you're meeting your audience where they're at. And so like I tell them the messaging and everything that I talked about 6 months ago is not the same thing as I'm talking right now because people are in different situations.
Mm-hmm.
And so knowing that anytime you create something, like it's great that you created that. But the problem is you're going to have to pivot at some time because the world doesn't stay the same.
Yeah.
So teaching them that it's okay to pivot and it's okay to say, all right, this was working, but maybe this might be a better path and not be scared to go down a path and try something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in our personal lives, what advice would you have for
so in our personal lives, it would, like I said before, like just look for the good because there's so many things that are happening right now that are pushing people to become the best versions of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And looking for, like you said, the opportunities of how can I be better? How can I step out of my comfort zone a little bit more? And more importantly, how can I take the information I've learned to serve other people?
Right. So I think you're absolutely right. There are so many, this, crisis, as it were, is offering all of us at every level in our lives, personally and professionally, an opportunity for us to become the best version of ourselves, right? We're all going to get through to the other end of this. And the question is, in what state will we get through? Will we be the same? And chances are we'll not be because you're either growing or you're dying, as it were. And so I think your story is a lot of inspiration to say, hey, you can get through this crisis whole. You're writing a book as well. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So the book I'm writing is called Authentic Influencer Marketing. And I've written one chapter so far, so I'm still in the beginning stages.
That's a big step forward. One chapter, right?
Yep.
Only 99 to go.
That's right. So we're getting there, but it's been really fun to think back to what I wish I would have had when I started in network marketing. And what are some of the skills and the tools and things like that I now kind of take for granted that I call her little Brooke, so what did little Brooke need back when she started her network marketing company? And so it's been fun to go back and think about lots of things I didn't know. So that way I can help other people be able to get success faster.
Indeed, indeed. What would you say are, maybe the top lesson that you have learned on this journey of entrepreneurship and just, personal development?
Mindset is so important. That's the number one thing that has helped me get through all of this, is being able to look at situations and find the good in things and not let it stop you, because like you said, it can debilitate people. And so learning how, we actually have a choice of how we look at a situation. And so giving us that power to choose what emotions we put on a situation, that has been probably the most powerful thing that I've learned.
Indeed, indeed. And it's a powerful lesson to pass on, and I would say a powerful way to end this conversation as well. Brooke, if there are ladies out there who wanted to get in connection with you, they wanted to learn more about your strategies, how would they find you?
So the best way is to find us on our podcast. So I have a podcast called Authentic Influencer Podcast, and we have lots of tips and strategies and stuff like that on the podcast. So that's the best way to find us.
Do you know the URL offhand?
Say that again.
Do you know the URL for the podcast?
If you go to socialtenacity.com/podcast, it will take you there.
Okay, so socialtenacity.com/podcast, and you get there.
Yep.
Awesome, bro. This has been enlightening, and I thank you for your sharing your remarkable story with us. I think I've benefited. I'm inspired by it, and I'm pretty sure our audiences will be inspired as well to find their authentic self and to really tap into that positive mindset. So thank you so much for sharing your experiences and your wisdom with us, and keep on pushing.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate everything that you're doing and the good that you're doing in the world as well.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you click on that subscribe button and hit that bell. You'll get a notification every time we post a new video. And don't forget, share it with your friends, man. They want to be inspired as well, right? So share it. Don't keep it. And before you go on to the next video, visit my website, www.devonharris.com. Keep on pushing.